Okay, over to you.
Yeah, so the listeners, for those, you may have seen my name, somewhere written, maybe wherever you have seen about this talk. If you break my first name, it actually spells in English as A, and then it's man, as an M-A-N, man, and then it's deep as in the word deep, D-E-E-P. So some of my trainer friends, they call me the deep man, and that's the way I kind of break my name down in a training room when I do workshops in the Europe and UK, because sometimes it's an Indian name at the end. It could be like, oh, sorry, excuse me, what was your name? My name is Amandeep, which means the light of candle of peace. And as Aaron said, I am the lead trainer for Success Resources, which is the world's leading seminar promoting company at the moment. And I'm so blessed to be able to present Tony's content at the preview talks I do for Tony, and I promote his main event. As far as my personal journey is concerned, I run a company called Emerging Brilliance, and under that banner, I run workshops in Asia. And I just came back from a trip. I did a talk in Delhi on the 5th of September, and I was in Kathmandu, Nepal, on the 29th of August to run a workshop for 300 people, and most of them were youth. And I think, they need the empowerment right now in Kathmandu, probably compared to other places because of what happened a couple of months back there. As far as my academics are concerned, I am a computer graduate, which may not surprise you because I come from India. I was born and brought up in India. I came to the UK in 2006 to do my further studies. Bless my cousin who lived here for the last 50 years almost. He gave me a sponsorship, he gave me a scholarship, and he paid for my college fees, and that's how my journey for UK started in the year 2006. I'm a certified life coach by the Cambridge University. I'm an NLP practitioner, just as Aaron mentioned about his NLP, certification. I have done EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. If somebody, you don't know about it, I've done hypnosis diploma, and I'm a very, I would say, a regular student for different. I used to be, and some I have obviously passed over and then taken a different path. I used to be a student in Scientology for a while, then Brahma Kumaris, Tej Gyan, and I pretty much follow Vipassana, which is Buddha's style or Buddha's technique of calming the mind or meditating or connecting with a higher power, whatever you call it. And this is my passion, this is what I do. I go out in the world, I use all these tools, put them together in a training room and give a people, shift or hope or new belief or inspiration or empowerment, what you call it, whatever. It's just that I help people better their life. And there are occasions in my life when I can't go to sleep because I'm so excited. And there are times when I wake up like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning and I walk on my craft because I can see this new chapter opening up in my life where I'm going to deliver a workshop in Kathmandu or Slovenia, as a matter of fact, somewhere else in the world. So it's like, I'm living my dream life. This is my passion. And I have pretty much planned out I'll end up in a training room at the age of 104, and that's how I would like to die, being in a training room while still inspiring people. So most of the days is like pretty much Christmas for me or a festival for me. But life, was not always like this. And I want to take you a couple of years back into my life. When I say a couple of years back, I mean 37 years back. And yes, you got my age correct. I am 37 years old. I was born and brought up in a city, in the outskirts of a city called Calcutta. It's in the eastern part of India. And if you have heard about Mother Teresa, then you will know where Calcutta is because that's where she did most of her amazing work. And that's the city, I'm blessed to be born with. So when I was growing up, I grew up in a very small family. I literally just lived in a one-room house without any concept of, having, like a dining room or a kitchen or a shower room or as a matter of fact, even, like a separate toilet. We had a common toilet for like five families, who were renting a room each next to us. And we all used to share that. I used to take shower in the open. And we didn't have a proper bed in our room. My mom had a mattress. She would roll out in the night and roll it back and put it on the side. She would cook just outside the room. There was a small shed, And in Calcutta, it rains pretty heavily for 3 to 4 months of the year when it's rainy season. So when it rained, it used to be a struggle for her to cook. Now you can understand that I had a lot of financial challenges, but it was not my challenges, because when you are growing up as a kid, till the time you have food on your table, you have shelter, and you have few clothes to wear, you're pretty okay in your own world, because it doesn't bother about money, finances, car, better home, TV, telephone. That was none of my concern. That was a challenge for my parents. Now, my parents figured out, as like my both parents, they can't read and write. They're illiterate. So they figured out very early growing up, that they have to rely on people a lot, and people with education have a better life compared to their life. So they thought, for the next generation life to change, they have to educate their kids, and they must go to a good school. Now, the Asian education standard is like, you can go to government school, which is very, very basic, or you can go to a private school where you get to learn this language, English, which I'm communicating with you right now. And plus the style of teaching, the infrastructure is pretty better compared to the government school. So I was studying in a government school, my sister as well. I have one sister, she's 3 years older to me. Now, when they made the decision that they have to send their kids to a private English speaking school, they did not have enough funds to do that. Just the savings you had and probably whatever they can pull out from their income, which my father was doing over, every month, it was just enough to put one child in an average private school. Obviously, I got chosen over my sister, being a male member of the family, which is kind of a bit of Asian culture. And I also had an advantage. I was 3 years younger to my sister to adapt to a new style of learning. So when I was 8 years old, I went into a private school to study. And my bigger challenges growing up, which was my challenges, my personal challenges, was that I was quite fat as a kid. So I automatically became, this target of being laughed and teased at by my peer group. And it was, I would say, okay till that point. But my biggest turmoil, my biggest emotional fight or biggest conflict within me is that I'm a mixed child. If you know a little bit about India, India is a very diverse country. It's got different languages, different religions, and even different skin color depending on which part of the country you come from. Now, my father is Northern Indian. He is Punjabi. That's the kind of community or class we call it. And the religion, like a Sikh religion, they follow. My mom, she's Bengali. She's Eastern Indian. She speaks a different language, Bengali language. And I am a mix of North and East India. So I grew up thinking, that I'm an impure version of a human being, that there is something wrong in me as a human being. I look more on my mother's side. My skin is like more brown, more darker. My father is very fairer in complexion because he comes from Northern India. So I wanted to look like more of my father's side, and I would do some stupid things, to make my skin more fairer. I would go and play with my peer group, and they would say, hey, like one part of the group would say, you're not part of us. You need to go and play on the other side with your brothers. When I went on to play with these Punjabi boys, they would say, hey, hang on, you're not a part of us. You can play with your Bengali community people. So you can realize, that growing up, I felt rejected and abandoned by, the people around me. And I had all these why questions to God, that why have you made me like this? Why I can't be just normal kid like other kids? When I was 16 years old, my father met with a major accident with his ambassador taxi. He used to drive a taxi in Calcutta, an ambassador car, to fetch living for his family. So when that accident happened, he could not even afford to pay for that one-room house he was renting in Calcutta. He came to Calcutta many years back when probably he was 14 years old for a living from his village in the northern part of India. So as the accident was so major and, the loss was so much big that he had to approve the whole family and take us back to the countryside, to the village from where he originally was from. And I was 16 years old. So now when I went back to the village, in the village, the contrast of life is like quite different, I would say. Especially I'm talking about, 94, year 94. India was a pretty different country that time in many different ways. The villages had very basic ways of living, like electricity, the TV, even the telephone. It used to be all a huge challenge. Now, Aaron, just want to make sure, everybody's on the call right now, yeah?
Yeah, they are indeed. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. It just, I want to make sure because it feels like I'm talking to myself.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we often get that, but yeah, no, everybody is on mute because otherwise we'll probably hear dogs barking in the background and that, and I didn't want to distract you.
Yes,
So.
completely relate to that. Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
no, don't worry. I'll ping you a message if it drops out. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you, Aaron.
No
So when I
problem.
was 16 years old, I had to relocate to village, and now just from getting laughed and teased at, which was kind of okay, I would say still in the village, in the city, I was getting bullied and abused by these macho guys, probably who were a little bit more stronger than me, maybe a little bit more taller than me, and, as because they belong to the Sikh community. And if you know what a Sikh community is about, these are the guys who, if you follow your Sikh community properly, you will have beards and you will be wearing a turban. And, so these are the guys around me. Now, from getting laughed and teased, I was getting bullied and abused by these guys. And, they were pointing fingers at me, like as if I'm somebody, like very lower to them. I can't speak the language. I look different. I'm not one of them. And maybe you can relate, that in life we do things just to get accepted by our peer group. So I was growing my beard. I was, wearing a turban just, so that they can accept me as one of them. And this was a part of my life, which I have not shared, and even my parents don't know about it until I started, speaking and became a trainer 4 or 5 years back. It's a part of my life, which is like a dark part of my life. We all have this dark side. We don't talk about it. We kind of hide it. So when I was 16 and a half years old, I gave up on life. I thought, I cannot make a difference to my life. I cannot make a difference to my parents' life, to my sister's life. I'm not needed within the community. I'm this dark-skinned, thick, dull, dumb boy, good for nothing. If I can commit a suicide and end my life, and I'll be gone. No, it would not matter because anyways, I'm a weight on planet Earth. I grew up watching some Bollywood movies, at my neighbor's house. My neighbors, they were Nepalis in Calcutta. And I think I owe to the Nepali community in a way because there were occasions in my life where my neighbors would lease out their gold because they're not very wealthy enough. They were just maybe a little bit better than us. So even if at times if needed, they would lease out their gold to loan money to my mom. And that's how I got educated, in my school. So obviously I watched a couple of movies, at my neighbor's house, and I figured out that the easiest way for me to go is that if I can cut my nerve in the middle of night, I will be history. Nobody would know about it. They'll just wake up to realize that this boy has gone. So one night, when everybody went to sleep in the dark of the night, I figured out this razing blade, a raised shaving blade, which I kept next to my window. And I was having this blade in my hand, and I was holding the blade, next to my wrist, on my left wrist, and the blade was in my right hand, and my hands were shaking, and there was a voice inside me, which was saying, "Just go for it, just press it." And the moment you pressed it, it will be end of all your miseries, end of all your pain, end of all your why questions to God that why He has made you like this. And while I was in this whole situation, there was another voice inside me. And, we all have this voice of fear. And it was also talking to me at the same time. It was saying, it will pain a lot. A lot of blood will come out. Maybe you can postpone this decision for tomorrow. Maybe you will have more courage, more strength to do it tomorrow night. Maybe today is not the right time. Obviously, you realize that I postponed that decision that night. And I was still juggling with this decision, and I was hating myself every single day. And I was telling myself that whatever these guys, they talk about you, that you're good for nothing, you're thick, dull, dark-skinned, dumb boy, they're right about me. I can't do this little act. What else I would do? And during that, phase of my life, I got a letter, like a letter sent from an angel. I've got no idea where they got my address from, but I got a letter dropped at my home. It was on my name. And I opened up the letter, and, that's what Tony talks about. Now I understand what was happening to me. One of my need of feeling significant, of feeling that I matter was given to me by that letter. That letter became, like my savior. It had a golden heading. That letter actually came from a company called Amway. I think some of you may know Amway is a multi-level marketing company, which is worldwide spread. Yeah. Thank you, Aaron, for the acknowledgement. It helps.
Yeah. No, just letting you know we're still here.
Yeah. Sweet.
But I know them well. They're customers of ours.
Yes. So they were getting launched in India in 97, 98. And in the letter, it said some amazing, beautiful things about me. Like, now I understand that it was a generic marketing letter, but I felt it was written for me personally. It said, you're an amazing person, selected for this great international business opportunity coming to India for the first time. And, we want you to come and attend this business workshop with us. I traveled 100 miles from a village, I went to the city called Jalandhar, which is in the northern part of India, and I attended the talk in the evening. So I was sitting in a training room, and, sitting in the training room, it felt as if I have arrived home. It felt, as if I belonged to this place. And the guy who was presenting, his name was Dr. Barach. He came all the way from Canada to do this business. He was presenting. And whatever he did, in terms of his presentation, he mesmerized me. And I think that was the first seed given to me that I would like to do something like him. But it was too big of a dream, so I probably never thought about it, never spoke about it. But that's the first seed, I think that came inside me to say that I would like to be a trainer in life. And at the end, he said that if you want to be very successful in your life, if you want to be very rich in your life, then you must read some self-help book. And there were some books at the back of the room on the table. So I went and I picked up 2 books. The first book I picked up was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And the second book I picked up resonated with my life so much was How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. Now, when I started reading this book, I was very surprised to know that a guy who's American, who lives in America, may not have visited India. Even if he has not met me, but he seems to know a lot about my life. And obviously, I had more awareness. I started learning. I realized that the power of me changing my life is within me. And since that day, I've never stopped, reading books, going into training rooms, learning from the best mentors, teachers, trainers. And on that journey, I picked up a book in 2003, which I talked about, Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And he became my hero, and I came to the UK in 2006 through my cousin's help. And I was looking for jobs on Gumtree. Probably you guys know about the website Gumtree. And while I was looking for jobs, there's an ad, which flashed up. It said a free book from Tony Robbins. Now, guys, you understand, that I love Tony. He's my mentor, he's my hero. But at the same time, I'm an Indian, and it said free, so I couldn't resist. So I had to click. And I fell in my details, and they sent me this book. This book was Notes from a Friend. It's a little book, very beautifully written. I highly recommend, if you haven't, then pick up this book. I think it would not cost you more than three or 4 pounds. Small little book, nice book. I read that book, and obviously, it was a marketing strategy. I got a call, from Tony's office in a few days' time. And I spoke to this guy, and he realized, that Tony is my hero. And at the end, he said of the call, would you like to come and see this man live at an event called Unleash the Power Within in London? Now, I was in Newcastle, studying. When I heard this, I was over the moon. I mean, I even didn't realize that I have to pay for the program. He could figure out, that I have no money. I'm looking for a job. So he gave me a payment plan. We worked out on a 4-month plan. And to cut the story short, I went and attended Tony's Unleash the Power Within in 2007 with 11,000 people in London at the Excel Center. So I did the firework. I walked in fire just as a metaphor to break any fear which might be, around me getting more successful or whatever, to go to the next level. Then I went through the whole process. And on the 3rd day, Tony gave me a gift. A gift, for which I cannot pay him back. And that's the reason, if Tony or his organization asks me to get up in the middle of the night and go and deliver something, I will. that's the, gift which just changed my life completely. And by the end of third day, I made a decision. And my decision was that I may not have the language, I may not have the accent, I may not have the finances, I may not have the background, I may not have the skin color, I may not have blah, 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 blah. But I will go out and find a way, to be a world-class trainer, and I will share my message and inspire and empower people around the globe. And ladies and gentlemen, whoever you are on this call or talk right now, I'm here, invited by Aaron to, share my message with you guys. And the reason, I shared this story is because you can see possibilities, because that's one of my trainer friends said, while, we were traveling. He said, "Hey, Amandeep, you stand as possibilities, my friend." He was American, so I just kind of copied that accent. But coming back, that was a changing moment of my life. Tony says, and it's so true for life, that it's in your moment of decision that your destiny is shaped. And that decision in 2007 changed the course of my life completely. So, if you're listening to this, if you have been postponing or not taking the decision which you probably should take for your life, then you got to go for it. And, once you've taken the decision, your life will completely be on a whole new path. And, just understand that not even taking a decision at times is also a decision in itself. So it's better you take a aware decision rather than taking a decision which you think, oh, okay, I'll postpone this or I'll not look at it and it'll go away. It will not. That's the way life is. So that's my story, in short, I would say, but still in detail.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to open some lines, but first, if you don't mind, if there's a question that I can just put to you, because I'm sure that it would be very helpful, and I'm sure that a lot of people would want to know the answer to this question. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely, Aaron. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, the question is, right, if you were to give one piece of advice for those people who are stuck in a rut, they've no motivation and feeling useless the way you once did, they've no energy, they're just completely stuck. They feel stuck. What advice would you give to those people?
Oh, that's a good question, Aaron. And I think we all get there. We all go there in that space. We all visit there. The idea is not to stay there. During my talks, I talk about how we all get boxed up in our life. This is what I talk about, and I'll elaborate a little bit, and then I'll come down to the answer, for the question you have. One piece of advice, which definitely I would like to share. We have to understand, how mind functions. We have a powerhouse, and once we start tapping into it, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of light which can be generated. But if we don't tap into it, if we don't connect with it, the energy would not flow. We will have to connect the wires or plug in and switch on for the power to come in. Now that powerhouse is our mind, and our mind, as per different studies and research, it suggests that it's divided into two parts. Now there's a part of the mind which is only just like the tip of the iceberg, which we use on a regular basis, is the conscious part of our mind. Most of the things I will share today, I will do my best to give you a real life example or a demonstration in my possible ways of being on the phone that you can relate it back to your life.
Sure.
Now, the conscious part of the mind, and maybe some of you may have heard this information, you will relate back to it again, is the part of the mind which is engaged in the learning process right now, or maybe listening to my story, or maybe, getting inspired, whatever. So the information which is coming from me to the listeners right now, it's where the part of the mind which is engaged and consciously choosing to take this information in. Now, apart from listening to me right now, and if I may say this, once I mention, you will straight away understand what I mean. the other part of the mind. And there's a part of the mind which is the 90% of the mind, and that's the subconscious part of your mind. So the mind is divided into two parts. 10% is conscious, and the 90% is your subconscious mind. Now, while you're listening to me, for all of you on this call, you are also breathing at the same time. And even before I mentioned about breathing, you were still breathing. Now that was something which was taken care by a part of the mind which is on autopilot. It's pretty much worked on its own because you created some programs or certain, strategies or certain style of doing things, and you gave it to that part of the mind and you said, hey, handle this information and I'll retrieve it whenever I need to. But you consciously don't choose to look into it. Like if I say, if you're wearing, I don't know, if you're sitting, standing, if you're in your house or office or wherever, if you're wearing shoes or slippers or sandals, or if you're barefooted, right? There's a feeling underneath your feet right now. And the moment I talk about that feeling, you become conscious about it. But even before I mentioned, that feeling was already there. It's just that you were not consciously choosing to look into that information. You were, as per NLP, you would connect, Aaron, that we delete, distort, and generalize, the millions of data with which the mind is bombarded at a given point of time. And if you have to process all that information, we will go insane. So our mind is very smart. It only looks into the information or the bit of data which is relevant for us in that moment. And everything else is deleted, discarded, or generalized. So coming back, this subconscious mind, the reason I share about it is very powerful. It runs on autopilot. You create programs and you give it to it. If you drive a car, if you do a great, if you're a great cook, you cook something great. Or maybe even if you tie your laces, these are the activities you struggled with when you started with. It took you a while to get, kind of good at it. And that's where the power of subconscious mind is. You create programs and you give it to it. And it serves you in many different ways, but at the same time, it disserves you, or it doesn't serve you in the way you want, because there are certain voices has been given to you when you were growing up, and your blueprint for success or life or the way you look at things were given to you in the first 7, 8, or 10 years of your life. Now, this is what happens for most people. When you are growing up, whether you realize it or not, your parents, for most of us, if we are blessed to have them, or it could be in few cases, it's your uncle, aunt, or somebody who took care of you when you were growing up, they are your first mentors. They are the first mentors you learn from, because you're too young to help yourself. They come into your picture and into the picture and they say, hey, it's like a baby. It's like when it's born, the mind is like a white canvas. You can put any colors, you can design anything you want, but just the parents, they come into the picture and they say, hey, I think the red, like my parents, I would give an example. Probably my father would say, Amandeep, use the black marker or the black color, because, it's cheap to refill that color. If you use red or green, it will be expensive for us to refill. And maybe, he struggled with money, so that was his belief, and he passed on to me the voices. So before you realize, you start drawing some limits in your mind as to what you can be or what you can't do, what you should be doing, how you should be behaving in the world, how you should show up. So, you start drawing some certain virtual limits in your mind, like your friends, they judge you, and you create certain limits, like your teachers, you look up to them as role models. They may be great at physics, chemistry, math they teach, but they may not be the best mentors to teach you about life skills or, about property or trading or being the best, painter. And then I think, the country you're born, the culture, the religion your parents follow or community, it also gives you certain voices. So, and before you realize, you go into this virtual box, which I call an invisible prison. And, the worst part of this prison is that it's portable. So people change relationship, people change city, people change country, people change business, thinking that things will change, but they don't realize that they're carrying the box with them. Like for me to come to UK in 2006, it was my dreamland. I thought every problem will end up for me. I'll be mega rich and it'll be all, end up my pain and miseries. But it was not the case, because I was carrying my box with me. And, there is a way to break this box, which obviously I talk about in detail during my workshop. But you're understanding that you will have to go through challenges in life, because when challenge is thrown at you, it's an opportunity for you to grow as a human being. And the key for you to break through your box is perturbation. Now, perturbation sounds technical, but it comes from the second law of thermodynamics, which suggests that any matter, when it's put under immense pressure, over a period of time, that matter changes form and shape. Like when trees, they fall on planet Earth, they have no choice. Over a period of time, when the pressure is constant, that matter converts into coal, and under more pressure, it converts into diamond. So wherever you are in your life right now, and I think, maybe you feel your life sucks. You have been through like major challenges. Like, I mean, you may think that even other people can't comprehend what you've been through. Like, I don't know, abused or beaten up or lost like major money. Your partner left you, or somebody died. You loved a near and dear one. Whatever you went through, doesn't matter. Just understand that you went through immense pressure or challenge, and that will make you the person you want to be, provided you are ready and willing to go through the process of perturbation. So I would just give you, if you ask me one key, then I would say be okay, to go through perturbation. And the symptoms of perturbation is like, you get clammy hands, you get butterflies in your stomach, and you're sweating even when it's -3 degrees temperature and you're outside, but you get sweating. That's the symptoms that you're going through perturbation. And when you go through perturbation, you what I call it in my training room is that you evolve as a human being. You may not look the same person. You may look the same person, but you're no more the same person because you have more distinction, you have more experience, and you have evolved and to the next level as a human being. So coming back, Aaron, I would say that be okay with perturbation. You pick up the life of any successful person, you will see that where they went through immense perturbation, no food on table, no money, nothing, but they still stick with their guns that I'm doing this and I will die with this if I have to. And they were the people, who came out to be successful on the other side. So yeah, coming back to your question, it's one answer, I would say perturbation.